Exposed, how my wife's heartwarming journey of rediscovery transformed our marriage in 30 days. Jack's heart pounded in his chest, he felt like he was drowning in the weight of the everyday. Every morning, before dawn broke over suburban Chicago, he awoke with grease-stained hands and a back aching from the grind of life as a mechanic. Once vibrant and hopeful, his existence felt reduced to the sound of rattling tools and the sterile fluorescent lights overhead. Gone were the days when he and Sarah shared dreams vibrant as the colors on her canvases. Now, their home was a shell, echoing with the exhaustion and routine that enveloped them both. It was heartbreaking watching Sarah, once the heartbeat of their household, now trapped under the layers of endless chores and motherhood. He remembered the way her brush danced over canvases, the colors bursting to life, her laughter infectious. But now, her talent lay dormant like a forgotten spring. Jack felt an aching void between them, misunderstandings stacking high like the bills on their kitchen counter. One afternoon, while running errands, Sarah stumbled upon the community center, a hollow shell of her past, where she once taught art classes, her sanctuary. Her eyes glistened with nostalgia as memories flooded back. And in that moment, hope flickered within her heart again like a small flame waiting to reignite. When she timidly proposed the idea of reviving the art classes, Jack's gut twisted not with doubt for Sarah, but with anxiety about their finances. Yet he saw the spark in her eyes, and reluctantly, he offered his hesitant support. As Sarah poured herself into the community center, creating art programs and pulling together a small group, colors returned to her cheeks. She reclaimed pieces of herself, pieces Jack had longed to see again. But with every brushstroke, Jack wrestled with insecurities, feeling smaller and smaller. Would Sarah fall back in love with her art, leaving him behind in the shadows of a life that seemed too big for him? The community began to blossom again around her, the friendships rekindled, laughter shared. But as the months sped by, the pressure of the gala loomed over them like a dark cloud. This was not just an exhibition, it was a culmination of Sarah's efforts and a test of their connection. Would it usher in a new beginning, or reveal deeper divides? Jack was terrified. They were on the verge of something yet unknown, their hopes battling with insecurities, as Sarah's self-doubt whispered dark thoughts into her ear. "Jack," she said one night, her voice trembling, "what if I lose myself again? What if I succeed, and you feel overshadowed?" In that moment, silence filled the spaces between them. Jack's heart raced. Her vulnerability stripped away the layers of routine, laying bare their emotional distance. They stood on the precipice of change, both desperately afraid of the leap. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night of the gala arrived, laced with equal parts hope and dread. Jack stood beside Sarah, anxiety coiling in his gut as the community buzzed around them, eager to witness her rebirth. But just as the moment crackled with potential, his phone rang, a job offer that could change everything, demanding his answer immediately. As he stared at the screen, the weight of their entwined futures pressed heavily on his heart. Could he support Sarah without sacrificing his own dreams? As he faced this crossroads, everything hung in the balance, leaving his soul aching for resolution in the electric air of the night. Jack's hands trembled as he stared down at the phone, the glowing screen dimming under the weight of indecision. The offer was tempting, more money, more opportunity. But in the back of his mind, he could hear Sarah's voice, a whisper laced with uncertainty. She needed him to stand strong tonight, to be her anchor as she showcased the pieces of herself she had so lovingly pieced together. Feeling torn, he pocketed the phone, forcing on a brave face as the community center flared with lights, alive with color and chatter. People drifted in and out, admiring the canvases Sarah had poured her soul into, each artwork a testament to her journey. Guests laughed and applauded, voices blending into a backdrop that felt both exhilarating and overwhelming. "Are you ready?" Sarah's voice broke through his reverie, pulling him out of his swirling thoughts. She looked stunning, her dress a cascade of emerald green that accentuated the joy sparkling in her eyes. Yet behind that joy was a flicker of fear, invisible to the crowd around them. "Yeah, I'm good," he replied, though the words felt hollow. Would he ever truly be good? As I glanced around, the faces blurred into a tide of anxious excitement. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the edge of a chasm. This night was meant to celebrate Sarah, her revival, but he couldn't help but wonder, what about him? What about the dreams he had tucked away in the farthest corners of his heart? Moments later, the soft ringing of a glass cutting through the noise announced the start of the gala. All eyes turned to Sarah as she stepped forward to speak. Jack's heart raced, and he took a step closer, ready to shield her from the world, to catch her if she stumbled. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Sarah began, her voice steady yet tinged with vulnerability. "It's been a long journey for me, rediscovering the joy of creating." She glanced at Jack, her smile widening, and he could see pride in her eyes that made him momentarily forget his worries. The words flowed from her lips, painting pictures with her speech that captivated the audience. They laughed, teared up, and clapped at her anecdotes, and Jack felt a surge of admiration. This was the Sarah he had fallen in love with, the woman who illuminated the room and filled it with warmth, but as her confidence soared, a shadow flitted through his mind. What if she became too big? What if this was the beginning of the end? Then came the moment he dreaded the most. Sarah unveiled the piece that had consumed her heart, a magnificent painting stretching almost the length of the gallery. It was vibrant yet raw, a reflection of her struggles and triumphs. The crowd gasped. Jack's heart sank. Everyone was entranced, and in that moment, he felt like a mere backdrop, the man supporting the artist, invisible and insignificant. But as he glanced at Sarah, the way her eyes shone with exhilaration, he realized something crucial. She was soaring, but he could learn to fly too. Just then, Jack's phone buzzed again, a reminder of the call he couldn't shake off. As he pulled it out, Sarah caught a glimpse of his expression and her smile faltered for just a heartbeat. "Jack, is everything okay?" she asked, concern knitting her brow. A choice loomed before him: hold on to the fear of losing himself or let love guide him. With the gala swirling around them, he found clarity. "Actually," he began, taking a deep breath, "I need to talk to you about something." As the crowd cheered, the weight of the moment grew heavier. He saw the fear reflected in her eyes again. Would their hopes intertwine or unravel? Jack's heart raced. Was this the moment everything changed for them, or would it be the end of everything they had built? The night felt charged, electric with possibility. "Sarah, I just got an offer and it's going to change everything." Suddenly, everything felt uncertain again. What would she say? The laughter and applause drifted into silence, the air thick with anticipation. Jack's heart pounded loudly in his chest, drowning out the excitement around him. He could see every emotion flicker across Sarah's face: confusion, concern, curiosity, and it twisted his insides. "An offer?" she echoed, the warmth of her voice now laced with trepidation. "What kind of offer, Jack?" Her question hung in the air, heavy with weight. He fiddled with his phone, avoiding her gaze, suddenly aware of how exposed his dreams seemed under the scrutiny of the crowd. It felt like standing naked in front of everyone. It's a job." "A great job," he stammered, trying to find the right words. "You know, for a marketing firm. They're offering more money than I've ever seen, and it could be a big opportunity for us." The excitement in his voice faltered as he saw the flicker of disappointment wash over her. Sarah's smile dimmed as she took a step back. "But tonight is about me, Jack. You know that," she said softly. "I need you here, present, not thinking about some job." Jack felt suffocated in that moment, the thrill of the gala dulling against the raw fear growing inside him. "I know," he said quickly, reaching for her hand. "But everything I do is for us. For our future together." "Is it?" Her brows knitted together as her voice shook. "Or is it something you want for yourself?" The question pierced him. He had spent so long supporting her, trying to be the person she needed after her struggles. Had he overlooked his own desires? He released her hand slowly, the warmth of it lingering. "I guess I didn't realize how much I've been holding back," Jack admitted, his voice lower. The sincerity in his words settled between them like a thick fog. "I just thought I'd focus on what would help you, and maybe it would help us too. But now I don't know." Sarah's entire demeanor shifted as she processed his confession. Her vulnerability peeled back like the layers of her artwork, exposing a truth they both dared not confront. "I can't be the reason you lose yourself, Jack." "I don't want that," she said, her eyes glistening as her voice wavered. "What if we both fly?" The crowd erupted into cheers once more, oblivious to the emotional turbulence swirling just beside them. Jack felt a rush of emotion at her words, a surge of hope mixed with fear. Could they learn to navigate their dreams together? "I think we can figure this out," he said, trying to project confidence he didn't fully feel. "But it will take effort. We both have to be brave enough to chase our paths." Sarah considered him for a moment, a flicker of determination igniting in her eyes. "Then let us talk about it. Let us not hide from our dreams anymore. We can build this together." As she spoke, the fear in Jack's heart began to ebb, replaced by a glimmer of excitement. There were possibilities, roads waiting to be traveled. But just as they shared a hopeful glance, the sound of a glass shattering echoed across the gallery, drawing their attention. Jack's stomach dropped. Everywhere he looked, faces turned toward the chaos, whispering and gasping. "Jack, wait!" Sarah cried, but he was already making his way through the swirling crowd, concern driving him forward. What was happening? As Jack neared the source of the panic, he realized that sometimes, the most unexpected events set the stage for transformation. "Sarah!" he shouted, panic rising. Had they both just made a breakthrough only to be thrust back into the unknown? As Jack reached the crowd, he wondered if this night would bring them closer or tear them apart again. What awaited them on the other side of the chaos? Jack pushed through the throng, his chest tight with worry. The applause faded like echoes in a vast canyon, replaced by gasping breaths and murmurs of surprise. He could feel the weight of anxious eyes upon him as he maneuvered towards the source of the panic. There it was, a shattered glass sculpture, shards glinting like fallen stars across the polished floor. The artist, a young woman with tears brimming in her eyes, stood frozen, her dreams cascading around her. Jack's steps faltered as he took in the chaos. A handful of guests formed a circle, whispering, their faces painted with shock. His heart raced. This wasn't just an accident. It was a collision of emotions, dreams unraveling at their feet. Jack turned to see Sarah approaching, worry etched on her face. The connection between them, so fragile just moments ago, now felt like a lifeline. "Are you okay?" she asked, searching his eyes. It's a mess," he replied, glancing back at the growing crowd. "But maybe it's also a chance for something. A conversation, or I don't know." "Let us help her," Sarah suggested, determination sparking in her voice. She stepped closer to the artist, extending her hand as though to reassure her. Jack watched, his heart swelling with admiration as Sarah's empathy took over. This was her strength, the ability to connect, to lift someone when they felt crushed. He wanted to be more like that, to combine their strengths. "Hey, we're here to help," Sarah said gently, kneeling beside the artist. "Can you tell us what we can do?" The artist blinked, hesitating. I don't know if there's much that can be done. It's ruined." Her voice trembled, a whisper of despair. Jack knelt beside Sarah, now forming a small circle of hope amidst the ruin. "This isn't just a piece of glass," he said, his voice steady. "It represents something bigger, right? Your creativity, your passion. We can find a way to rebuild it, even if it looks different." As he spoke, he felt an electric charge of courage building within him, something he nearly forgot existed. He reached out for the broken pieces, feeling the smooth edges and sharp points beneath his fingertips. All these broken fragments reflected not just sadness, but potential, a reminder that beauty could emerge from chaos. The crowd began to murmur words of encouragement, the tension slowly fading into a supportive atmosphere. Jack exchanged glances with Sarah. They were both learning the importance of standing firm in the face of adversity, of choosing to act rather than retreat. After a few moments, the artist took a deep breath, a flicker of gratitude sparking in her eyes. "You really think you can help?" she asked, her voice steadier, hopeful. "Absolutely," Sarah replied gently. "Let us do this together." They joined hands, rallying the onlookers, pulling them into a shared purpose. Jack felt the energy of the crowd shift, a unity forming around the broken glass. People began to gather and discuss how they could combine their talents, artists to restore, marketers to spread word, friends to simply lend a hand. In that moment, Jack realized that the chaos of the night might have delivered something unexpected, not just a confrontation of their fears but a reminder of the power of community. As the atmosphere transformed, Jack snuck a glance at Sarah. She met his gaze with a smile that radiated warmth, reflecting the passion for improvement they had just ignited in each other. For the first time, he felt as though they could forge ahead together, tackling both dreams and obstacles without losing sight of what mattered. But as the crowd began to clean up and talk possibilities, an elderly gentleman stepped forward, his voice cutting through the noise. "I have something to say, something important about this piece." Jack's heart raced again, not knowing what revelation could follow. Would this moment redefine their paths further? What new truth would emerge from the unexpected chaos? The crowd fell silent, the air thick with anticipation. All eyes turned to the elderly gentleman, his weathered face a map of stories untold. Jack could almost feel the collective heartbeat of the crowd, a rhythm of shared curiosity. "Good evening," the man began, voice steady but tinted with emotion. "I'm not just a guest here. I knew the artist's father well. He was a glassblower in his prime, a master of his craft." The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, drawing every ear closer. Jack leaned in, intrigued. "What does that mean for her?" he whispered to Sarah, who held her breath, her gaze glued to the man. "His father believed in the beauty of imperfections in art." The gentleman's eyes clouded with nostalgia. "He once told me that broken pieces could tell the best stories if one had the courage to rebuild them." A murmur spread through the audience like ripples in water, its effect palpable. Jack exchanged a quick look with Sarah, her eyes sparkled with understanding. This wasn't just about a shattered sculpture. It was a revelation that could change everything. "Your art doesn't have to end here," the elderly man continued, gesturing toward the artist. "It can evolve. Just like life, it may not go as planned, but that doesn't mean it's over." The artist's eyes glistened with renewed hope. You really think I can create something new?" she stammered, her voice shaky yet determined. "Absolutely," he affirmed with conviction. "In every piece of shattered glass lies a possibility. You have the power to transform your heartbreak into something truly remarkable. Don't let this loss define you." Jack couldn't tear his gaze away from the artist. In her, he sensed a kindred spirit wrestling with her own fears and dreams. It struck him then this was more than just about her, it was a reflection of their collective struggle for reimagining broken paths. His heart raced at the thought, an unfamiliar exhilaration washing over him. "Let us not just rebuild a sculpture. Let us tell a story together," Jack remarked, the words flowing from him as if sparked by some newfound fire. "We can create something unique, with every piece representing a part of this community, a story of resilience." The crowd erupted into hesitant applause, the sound rising like a wave. Sarah squeezed Jack's hand, a reassuring anchor amidst the evolving atmosphere. "You're right. Let those fragments come together, each with its own tale. We can showcase the journey of healing. We could organize workshops," someone shouted from the back, enthusiasm infectious. "Invite artists and the community to participate." Jack felt alive, excitement coursing through him. The atmosphere buzzed with energy, people calling out ideas, brainstorming how to turn despair into art that sparked hope. As Jack and Sarah stood at the heart of the humming crowd, he couldn't help but feel that their own journey was taking shape in those very moments. They were at a turning point, weaving their fears and dreams together like the very glass the artist worked with. But just as anticipation reached its peak, the elderly man raised a hand for silence, his expression shifting to something more solemn. "Remember, rebuilding isn't just about glass. It's about heart. Don't forget that." Jack's pulse pounded, thoughts racing. The truth lingered in the air as the weight of his unsaid feelings for Sarah hung between them, a confession he had avoided for too long. Would this night truly lead to transformation for them both, as well as the artist? A wave of uncertainty lapped at his resolve. As the echoes of the crowd faded, his heart whispered a question that lingered unspoken. Was he ready to embrace his own journey of rediscovery, or would fear hold him back just a little longer? The crowd's murmurs faded, leaving a heavy silence that settled between Jack and Sarah. The artist stood, her breath steadying as she wiped away a stray tear. The moment felt charged, like a collision of unspoken emotions dictated by something deeper than just words. Jack could see that the doubt that had once clouded her eyes was beginning to lift. "Let us find out what this means for all of us," she said, her voice stronger now. With a newfound resolve, she stepped forward. "I want to create something magical, something that speaks to our struggles and hopes." Jack caught a sparkle in her gaze, a flicker of fire igniting where fear had just been. He knew what she felt. This was bigger than just a project. This was rebirth. "Let us host a community showcase," Jack suggested, adrenaline surging. "A week where everyone can come together to share our stories through art. We can have workshops and bring in local artists. We'll transform this place into a canvas of experience." The crowd reacted with enthusiasm, voices rising again, suggesting ideas. Sarah turned to Jack, her eyes bright. She squeezed his hand tighter. "We could create a mural, filling the walls with our stories. It'll be a living testament to everything we've overcome." Jack felt a rush of warmth. Their ideas blended seamlessly, pieces of glass coming together to form something beautiful. But alongside the excitement stirring in him, a flicker of urgency pulsed. If they were embarking on this journey, it was now or never. A chance to share the pieces of himself he had kept locked away. As the crowd continued to gather momentum with their plans, Jack shifted his gaze to Sarah, his heart yearning to express the truth that fluttered just beneath his lips. But at that moment, the elderly man sidled closer, observing the scene with a knowing smile. "Change starts with us," he said gently, his voice carrying wisdom. "Don't hesitate to share your truth. That's where healing truly lies." Suddenly, the vulnerability of the moment pressed against Jack's chest. This was not just about the artist or the shattered glass, this was about him, too. He had always shied away from letting Sarah understand the depths of his heart, often fearing rejection. But now, in this sea of shared stories, acceptance was hanging in the air like the scent of rain-soaked earth, a promise of renewal. "Sarah," he began, taking a shaky breath. She turned to him, anticipation dancing in her eyes. "There's something I want to say to you. I've been holding back." But before he could find the words, the artist spoke up, rallying the crowd once more. "This is our moment. Let us kickstart this journey now. Who's with me?" Her voice was electric, igniting excitement all across the gathering. The room erupted into applause, drowning out Jack's struggle to find clarity. Jack felt his heart wrench. He wanted to stand tall, share his truth, but he suddenly felt small amidst the overwhelming sea of voices. The words slipped away like grains of sand through his fingers. As he looked back at Sarah, she gave him an encouraging nod, but doubt crept back in. Would he ever say what lay in his heart, or would he watch this moment slip past like so many before it? The crowd buzzed around him, ready to break ground on their collective story, yet all he could focus on was the emotional wall he was grappling with. If he didn't speak now, would he lose his chance forever? As plans began to unfold for the community project, the night hung heavy with promise but also with uncertainty. Jack took a deep breath, the words still tangled in his mind. Is this the moment he would finally free his heart, or would he let fear silence it once more? As the crowd's energy pulsated around him, Jack felt himself teetering on the edge of vulnerability. The murals could bloom on the walls, a tapestry of shared stories, but would the colors reflect the truth he clutched tight in his chest? Fear gripped him, and the warm rush of excitement from moments ago diminished into a cold sweat. The artist's voice rang out, calling for volunteers, circulating among the eager faces filling the room. Jack's heart raced as he realized this wasn't just about art. It was about connection. He watched as hands shot up, voices bounced against the walls, and laughter bubbled in pockets throughout the gathering. Each joyful exchange felt like a thread stitching the community closer together, while he remained tethered to his worries. Let's divide into teams, Sarah suggested, her enthusiasm lighting the room. We can brainstorm ideas for the mural and workshops that resonate with all of us. Jack caught her gaze, and for a moment, time stood still. In that single glance, he saw her dreams and aspirations unfurling, and all he felt was this tight ball of hesitation in his throat. Do you think they'll understand me? He whispered, only half aware that he spoke aloud. Of course, Sarah replied, stepping lightly towards him. We're all figuring it out together. Just be honest. You'll see. But her encouragement felt like standing at the edge of a diving board. He could look down into the unknown below, but taking the leap, that seemed insurmountable. He feared the fall more than the water he'd land in. I can't, he started again, but the words caught in his throat. Just then, the elderly man from before approached Jack. He had softened lines etched into his face, eyes twinkling with understanding. The heart speaks in the silence between words, he said, his voice like a warm hug on a chilly day. You don't have to have everything figured out to share your truth. Let it flow. You might be surprised by how it resonates. In that moment, something shifted inside Jack. He could feel the tremor in his heart, a sliver of hope cutting through the doubt. Yet the looming question still lingered: what if no one wanted to hear it? The excitement surged again as Sarah returned to the hustle of voices, magic weaving through conversations about colors for the mural and themes for their workshops. Jack felt like an outsider looking in, the riotous enthusiasm ringing in his head but failing to reach his heart. That he stepped back, away from the planning and happy banter, seeking a moment of solitude. Leaning against a nearby wall, he tightened his grip on the paintbrush he had unconsciously picked up from the table. With a deep inhale, he focused on the swirling chaos around him. Moments ticked by, and he could feel the pull. The familiar voice of inner doubt echoed louder than ever. What if he never spoke his truth? What if he let fear win again? But there was something different about this night. The air felt electric, and the notion of creating together brought a stirring in his soul he hadn't expected. Suddenly, amidst the chaos, he caught sight of Sarah laughing with a group of kids, their faces smeared with paint, eyes wide with wonder as they discussed ideas for the mural. Her laughter rang like a bell, reverberating in Jack's chest. He wanted to be a part of that joy, to share his journey right alongside her, unguarded and true. His fingers tingled on the brush, urging him to step forward, but doubt still strung tighter than ever. Could he really do it? Was he brave enough to tell his story and own the messy bits? With a deep breath, he pushed himself away from the wall, desire propelling him into the crowd once more, where possibility hung in the air like a smoke trail. The chance to share was slipping away and he felt the urgency wash over him, but as he approached Sarah, ready to finally let the words spill from his heart, a sudden commotion caught his attention. A child had stumbled, paint and tears mixing on their cheeks, and all eyes turned to see the unexpected scene play out. Jack's heart pounded as he watched events unfold. Would he be silent again, or would this moment push him to finally open up? Jack's pulse raced as he took in the sight of the small figure on the ground, paint splattered like confetti around them. The child's eyes glistened with tears, a mixture of shock and embarrassment, the kind of moment that drew the crowd in like moths to a flame. He watched as Sarah knelt beside the child, her soothing voice cutting through the stillness. It's okay, sweetheart. Everyone stumbles sometimes. We can make this part of the story. She had a way of turning mishaps into magic. Jack felt an ache in his chest. The way she embraced the child's vulnerability ignited something deep within him, this understanding that everyone carried their burdens, that everyone knew failure, yet from that failure, beauty could arise. As more people gathered around, Jack found himself drifting closer, drawn to the energy of compassion. Voices flowed softly, offering words of comfort while Sarah wiped away the tears with gentle hands. In that moment, he wished with every fiber of his being that he could speak up, to share his own struggles. But the tightness in his throat tightened further, choking off any chance to voice his thoughts. Then, he noticed the elderly man who had spoken to him earlier in the night. He was standing at the edge of the crowd, a knowing look on his face. Jack's heart raced as their eyes met. It was almost as if the man could sense his turmoil, the tension that gripped him like an iron cuff. "You felt that fear, haven't you?" the man said softly, taking a step forward. "But look at them. They're brave enough to fall, to get messy. And now look how that vulnerability is transforming this moment." Jack's gaze shifted back to Sarah and the child. The crowd pulsed with warmth, breaking into a small chorus of encouragement. "You're doing fine. We're all here for you." The words floated through the air, a soft reassurance that connected them in a shared humanity he had always longed for. The image struck him like a lightning bolt. Each brushstroke they had been planning was nothing but a reflection of life's imperfections, a testament that the beauty of art and life lay in the flaws and stories they held. As he watched the child begin to giggle at Sarah's playful attempt to smear paint on her own face, something in Jack cracked open. Maybe sharing his truth wouldn't mean flawless execution. Perhaps it could be messy, imperfect, and entirely beautiful. With a sudden rush of clarity, Jack began to step forward. But just as he found his footing, the crowd gasped. The child, emboldened by laughter, had picked up a brush and tossed paint across the ground, splattering the legs of bystanders. The moment triggered pure joy. Everyone erupted into laughter, and for a second, Jack could feel the weight of his fear lift. This was the connection he had craved. Everyone was sharing in that spontaneous joy, that beautiful mess. Jack took a deep breath, feeling the warmth spreading in his chest. He wasn't ready to dive into his truth yet, but he understood that stories could start small, just like the splashes of paint mixing on the ground. Seeing the jubilant faces around him sparked a fleeting sense of courage. Maybe he could speak. Maybe his voice didn't need to roar, it could start as a whisper. As Sarah turned to him, her eyes sparkling with encouragement, Jack opened his mouth. Would this be the moment he finally embraced vulnerability? But just as he took a breath to speak, a loud crack of thunder boomed outside, startling them all. Everyone's attention shifted toward the window, and with that, so did his chance to share his truth. What if the storm outside matched his inner turmoil? Would it wash away his growing courage or carry him to new heights? The thunder rumbled overhead again, shaking the small gathering. Raindrops started to slap against the windows like tiny hands begging to be let in. The joy that had just blossomed seemed to retreat, just a bit, as everyone turned their faces to the storm. The sounds of laughter faded, replaced by the rippling whispers of concern. Jack could feel the tension creeping back in, but then, almost as if the very heart of the child had summoned it, a brilliant flash of lightning illuminated the room, casting wild shadows. In that moment, Jack's heart felt a shift. It was time. No more playing it safe behind the curtain of fear. "Sarah," he finally said, his voice trembling slightly as it broke the charged air. She turned her gaze back to him, eyes wide, inviting. A little voice in his head whispered for him to stop, to stay quiet, but watching her gaze filled him with something reckless. "Hope." "Jack, what is it?" she urged gently, stepping closer again, creating a space just for them amidst the bedraggled crowd. He felt the warmth of her presence like a lifeline that he swallowed hard and took a step toward the group. The laughter had faded, but the faces around him still glowed with the printed joy of the earlier chaos. I feel like I've been half here and half somewhere else." His words stumbled over one another, tumbling out in a rush. I've been so scared to show you, or anyone, the parts of me that might not fit into the pretty picture, he admitted, glancing at the child whose paint-splattered innocence had lit a fire in him. But what I'm learning is that the messy parts are what make up the whole. A heavy silence settled around him, pulling at the edges of his confidence. The elderly man smiled softly, nodding, echoing the silent encouragement that surrounded him. Jack's heart raced. This was the moment he had feared and longed for all at once. He could see it now. His vulnerability could birth connection, a bond deeper than he had ever imagined. In this storm, I see the chaos outside, and it feels a bit like the chaos inside me, he continued, his voice steadying. But I want to share it, even if it's imperfect. Sarah's face lit up, her response instantaneous, a reflection of her love and support. That's beautiful, Jack. It's all beautiful. It's all part of our story. She reached out, intertwining her fingers with his, squeezing tightly. It anchored him against the roaring storm. The crowd held its breath, all eyes on them. He felt seen, truly seen for the first time. And maybe, he added, feeling the warmth of hope spreading in his chest, this storm could teach us something valuable. About strength, about unity, about love that can withstand anything. Just then, another loud crack of thunder erupted, this one shaking the very foundation of their sanctuary. The lights flickered overhead, and the tension felt almost electric. But instead of fear, Jack felt a thrill, like the storm had unleashed something inside him that had been locked away for too long. Let's face this together, he said, turning to the crowd now, finding courage in their shared humanity. Let us not hide away in fear of the messiness, but embrace it. The crowd erupted in a chorus of applause and cheers. Even the child joined in, clapping with pure delight, paint splattering with every movement. Jack's heart swelled. But just then, the lights flickered out completely, plunging them into a moment of darkness. Gasps echoed through the room, mingling with the sound of rain pounding against the roof. Jack, Sarah's voice pierced through the dark, laced with urgency. What if the storm's just the start? What if we're meant to ignite something even bigger? The question lingered in the air, the storm aside, as anticipation crackled around them. What if the darkness before them held the key to everything they needed? The lights flickered back on, casting a warm glow over the gathering, and Jack's heart raced. In that brief moment of darkness, something shifted inside him. Gary, the elderly man, stepped forward, raising his voice over the cheerful applause. This storm isn't just weather. It's a metaphor for life. And tonight, you've all proven that your hearts can shine through the darkest of storms. Jack glanced at Sarah, her eyes sparkling like the stars that would soon break through the clouds. Inspired by her unwavering support, he took a deep breath, feeling as though the entire room was inches from transformation. You're right, he exclaimed, fueled by the electrifying energy around him. This is our chance to embrace our storms, our vulnerabilities together, not just as artists but as a community. As he spoke, he watched the faces around him brimming with excitement, relief, and the unmistakable spark of hope. It felt as though everyone held a palette bursting with colors, ready to paint their joint masterpiece amidst life's messiness. Let us turn this storm into our inspiration, he continued, fueled by newfound bravery. Let us create a mural that reflects each of our struggles, our stories of rediscovery. A celebration of resilience through art. The crowd erupted in applause, voices blending into one harmonious roar, a chorus that felt like a wave of unity. Sarah beamed at him, and Jack felt a warmth radiate in his chest. This was a shared journey, not just his or hers. They were all together, climbing toward a brighter horizon. That he turned to the child who had stumbled, now brushing paint off her cheeks with a grin. You're the spark of energy tonight, he said, and watched her giggle. Let us channel that spirit of adventure. We want everyone's ideas, young or old, to be represented. As the crowd began to gather around him and Sarah, Jack's earlier fears faded into the background. One by one, hands shot up in enthusiasm, eager to contribute. We should add bits of glass to the mural, someone called, and Jack nodded. Yes, just like our stories, they might seem broken, but they can create something beautiful when pieced together. The cheer that followed rang throughout the space, and he looked down at Sarah, who was now overwhelmed with emotion. "We can do this," she whispered, her voice breaking slightly. Jack squeezed her hand, their connection stronger than ever. They were finally in this together. As the children ran forward, giggling and clapping their hands, Jack felt a new wave of determination wash over him. "Let us start painting now," he proclaimed. Laughter erupted again, and everyone dove into the task, grabbing brushes and paint, delighting in the creative chaos as they worked side by side. In that moment, the storm outside raged on, but indoors, laughter and splashes of vibrant colors drowned out any lingering fears. Together, they began to lay the foundation of their mural, a massive canvas where each stroke told a story, each color represented a journey. Hours flew by, and laughter mixed with paint now filled the room. As more people came to join, bringing their ideas and sharing in every laugh, Jack realized that it wasn't just a mural they created, it was connection in its purest form. Each dot and stroke became a bonding moment, tears were mixed with paint as stories of struggles echoed through voices raised in celebration. As they finally stepped back to view their masterpiece, a myriad of colors and textures forming a beautiful, chaotic tapestry, it was clear. They had poured all their hearts into it. Every smudge, every smear felt like a reflection of every obstacle they had faced. Just like their lives, it was imperfect yet utterly beautiful. Jack caught Sarah's gaze, and in her smile, he saw everything: the promise of unwavering support, the love that radiated, and the realization that they could both chase their dreams without losing each other. "Thank you, for pushing me to find my voice," he said softly, his heart swelling with gratitude. She squeezed his hand and leaned in for a quick peck on his cheek. "And thank you for finding yours." As the crowd marveled at the mural, the storm outside began to dissipate, allowing rays of sunshine to peek through the gray clouds. Jack felt light-free. Perhaps, just like those colors, they could keep weaving their stories together, shining brightly through any storm life threw their way. "Let this be just the beginning," he called out, voice filled with emotion. "We can keep creating. This community, our art, it's all a part of us. We'll rebuild every piece, whether it's glass or hopes or dreams." And with those words, applause erupted again, echoing in the atmosphere like the thunder that had just faded away. This was the moment. The moment they all stood up together, vowed to face their fears, and dared to dream in vivid color. In that embrace of community, Jack finally felt weightless. They were not just transforming their art, they were transforming their lives, their hearts intertwined, renewed in purpose and hope. And in that vibrant, chaotic space, they realized that love could conquer anything, even the fiercest storms. Let their stories splash across the canvas of life, never to be forgotten. Now, if you felt that spark of connection with this story, join our family by subscribing immediately to the channel. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss these exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Life, it really makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, I want to hear your thoughts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support.